David Davis made a major concession to Brexit rebels today as he declared any final deal will be enshrined in a separate Act of Parliament. The Brexit Secretary acted to head off an impending clash with Tory Remainers as he updated MPs on progress with negotiations. It fulfills one of the key demands made by Conservative politicians calling for a softer departure from the EU. But ministers are still facing a titanic battle to push the EU withdrawal bill through Parliament. Former ministers Dominic Grieve, Nicky Morgan and Anna Soubry are among those threatening to side with Labour in votes on the legislation, which is coming back to the House of Commons this week. More than 400 amendments have been tabled, with the first major clashes due to be over whether to include a fixed Brexit date on the front page of the law. Tory Remainer Dominic Grieve set the tone for the argument this morning, branding the idea incoherent and thoroughly stupid, adding that it won't have my support. Mrs. Morgan said Theresa May's support for fixing a date in legislation showed she had a political tenure and would only deepen divisions in her party. Delivering a statement to MPs, Brexit Secretary acted to head off an impending clash with Tory Remainers by committing to separate legislation on any deal with the EU. The Prime Minister, pictured in Downing Street today, is braced for a struggle over the EU withdrawal bill, which is being stewarded through Parliament by Brexit Secretary David Davis, pictured right today. Shadow Brexit Secretary Sir Keir Starmer, pictured on ITV's GMB today, is insisting that there must not be a red line against keeping the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice during a transition period. Tory Remainer Dominic Grieve today branded the idea of putting the Brexit date on the EU withdrawal bill incoherent and thoroughly stupid, while Nicky Morgan said it showed the PM had a political tenure. Ms. Soubry said the proposal was foolish, and said she had already made concessions to the EU referendum result by voting in favour of triggering Article 50. I am not going to vote against my conscience again, she told the BBC. Meanwhile, Shadow Brexit Secretary Sir Keir Starmer is insisting that there must not be a red line against keeping the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice during a transition period. He said there were very many Conservatives who are concerned about this. However, Sir Keir admitted that the long-term relationship with the ECJ was a matter for negotiation and the relationship would have to change. Sir Keir told BBC Radio 4's Today programme it was blatantly obvious that the final agreement would not be in place by March 2019, when the UK is due to leave. Brexit Secretary David Davis is due to update MPs on the progress of talks with the EU later, after a bad-tempered press conference with counterpart Michel Barnier in Brussels on Friday. The apparent deadlock over the size of the divorce bill has raised fears that trade talks might not start until March, increasing the chances of no final deal being reached. Sir Keir claimed today that such an outcome from the negotiations would almost certainly lead to the fall of the government.